join in on that, and we're getting that online here. This is that area of circulation. Again, it doesn't look all that impressive on radar. What stands out more to me is perhaps the reflectivity. Velocity shows us how the storm is moving internally, what the wheels and the engines are looking like, things like that. Reflectivity just tells us how big the exhaust is here, how that looks as the intensity of the storm there. And this is that little area right here, this little finger sticking out. Sometimes you get that finger sticking out and there's enough wind out of the south and southeast here. That's prompting a little bit of spin there in the Cullom area. And that's what we're continuing to monitor and keep a close eye on here with that one little spot. It was a bit more obvious and more pronounced earlier. So here you could see between Forest and Sonneman right there. Notice how at 410 it kind of stuck out and we were watching it and monitoring things. And then we also, I'll zoom that forward a little bit. You can kind of see how it's lifting on through. It's just south of Cullom. By now, it's probably approaching 115 and 116 north of Piper City, east of Cullom, moving into the Ford County area. And so that's what we'll continue to monitor here and get that radar update. Checking out in the comments, I know first off, if we look at our area-wide view, a lot of folks have been asking, saying, hey, what about our 4th of July fireworks? What's this looking like for us here? The severe thunderstorm watch ends at 7 o'clock, and I tend to think that the severe weather threat ends maybe even a little earlier than that. This is kind of that last back edge of the line there as it moves on through. Just some scattered shower and storm activity continuing, and that will continue for a few more hours here. But I tend to think once this back edge clears on out, then we'll be seeing things return to some quieter weather for us here. So I have a lot of optimism that 4th of July festivities will continue. We've talked about here with that day, we've talked about how we just have to dodge some rain and storm activity from time to time. And that's been the case here for us. A lot of those fireworks, though, we're waiting until 9 o'clock. So we'll get things cleared out here before long. And that's some good news with how things materialize there. Just getting my IFB adjusted. I can hear production in the background. And so I'm going to mute that and get that weather agent on. So I think you guys can talk to me in the weather IFB here. Some good news. We're going to return back to programming. The tornado warning has been dropped for Ford County. Ford County, the tornado warning has been canceled. So production, can someone talk to me in my IFB real quick? Okay, perfect. We're going to make that call. We're going to get you back to golf. We pardon that interruption, but again, our policy is to cover tornado warnings. We'll go ahead and stay on digital platforms here, and we'll stay in touch with that. But the tornado warning now has dropped for Ford and Livingston counties. Severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag still in place. That means they're monitoring a little area of rotation, but much less organized there. You guys are supposed to give me a countdown? Okay. That's how we do it every time. So, all right. So we're off TV. And off TV now, still on digital platforms. And that's something that we just going to stick around for a little while longer here. Production cut us off TV a little quick. That's okay. We don't have anything else to say, so we're getting back to golf here on that. Tornado warning's out. We're done with TV, but we'll just kind of monitor here for a little bit on the digital side of things. And we got a number of you that are on here. Let me know where you're watching from. Also, if you are watching from specific spots, checking in, what kind of look at all the storm activity here. Not a whole lot happening. You see the US 36 corridor from Decatur off towards Tuscola, Chrisman, in between some scattered storms down there. Nothing intense showing up. And then some spotty showers with a few rumbles of thunder possible. You can see the lightning bolts. I'll flash them on quick as we look in between there. And then the main batch of storm activity. Really, you can see how the intensity is a lot less here over the last 30 minutes with that, but still some rain and thunder coming in across Livingston, northern Ford, and northern Iroquois counties. Some of you may have gotten an alert about a tornado warning. Again, the tornado warning has been dropped, and so that's what we are looking at for us here. That tornado warning dropped for Livingston and Fort County. We had about 10 minutes where there was a tornado warning. And it was one of those things where you get the rogue little spin up, a little spot there, and that's enough to push us over the line briefly. You never say never on a day like today, and that's why we're here on that severe weather coverage, just in case. We've been monitoring all day, hanging out, checking things out here, but that's what we're continuing to see. And monitor for the next little bit. Been some more storms coming out of the St. Louis area. I tend to think these will be I-70 into the south. Some of the guidance has tried to push them more north, but I think for the most part, they're going to move east. That should keep most of that activity to the south of our area here, down towards places like Salem, Flora, and Olney, and Lawrenceville, and Vincennes along US 50. Can't rule it out as far north as US 40, the I-70 corridor, but it seems like this is that little cluster of storms, and once we get this leading edge out of here, that should help to dry things out, which is optimism for our severe weather threat and getting it out of here, and optimism that our fireworks get to go off without a hitch here. A couple of folks in Gilman on the chat saying, hey, I got a notice on my phone for a warning. One thing to note is tornado warning alerts on cell phones. They are based by location of a cell tower. So you might have a cell tower that's actually off to the west in the Piper City area. And when that happens, when that Piper City happens, you get the tower, your phones connect to it, it pings it, it sets off the warning, but the tornado warning is canceled. It has been canceled. It was canceled pretty quickly here. We saw just a little speck of rotation showing up there north of Fairbury, passing south of Sonneman towards Cullum, and it's a lot weaker. So we are not concerned about the threat for a tornado here with this. Again, the tornado warning has been canceled for Livingston and Ford counties. It was never in for Iroquois County. The warning did butt up to the Iroquois-Ford County line, but it did not include Iroquois County. Your cell phone may have gone off saying, hey, there's a tornado warning in your area, and that's because perhaps your cell phone was pinging to a tower in Ford County. Those are how that's based there. It's not perfect, not the most optimal direct thing, but it's a good way to get alerts. And, if you're in Iroquois County, yeah, you probably should have gotten that warning because, those storms generally head in your direction. And so you get a little extra heads up on there. But that's what we're looking at. And you can kind of see here that edge of the storms is surging a little bit more north as well. I'll flip back over to the velocity here, and we'll probably stick around for another 5-10 minutes. Not really much showing up here anymore. There was never much to begin with. You could see right in here, that was that little area of spin that popped up here. And that's what prompted that tornado warning, gave us about 10 minutes of tornado warning coverage before it kind of weakened and that cool air outran it. There's still going to be some downburst winds. You're still going to have some straight line winds, but the tornado warning no longer in effect, which brought us online. We're back to a severe thunderstorm warning there. There's going to be some 40, 50 mile an hour gusts perhaps. There may be an extension of the severe thunderstorm warning into Iroquois County as well. I did get a notice over in the Indiana side, new severe thunderstorm warning there. That's going to be for areas between Veedersburg and Rockville. They also put a tornado possible tag on that. I'm going to look at the velocity over there. So we got viewers that are off in West Indiana that follow us. So we'll just check it out here. Actually, that's fairly impressive right there. Near Sylvania, south of Mill Creek, you can kind of see what's happening is you're getting outflow winds pushing really fast right here. And then on this side, it's kind of leading to that little spin right there, crossing US 41 in Indiana. But that's moving away from us there. But heads up towards Byron and Wallace and Waveland. Sometimes you just get those little accidental spins with things like that as they move on through. Let's go down the line. Here's something that stands out to me, probably some gusty winds in the storm coming into Arthur and Atwood, west of Tuscola. But if you see here, this little line right there, that is an outflow boundary. And so this storm is pushing wind out. It's rain-cooled air. And so you get that cool breeze before you get the thunder and lightning and whatnot. Sometimes it's refreshing. You get a hot, humid day and a nice rain-cool breeze. That can be pretty nice for us on that. So that's something that we've seen that quite a bit today, actually, as it's been moving on through. So, again, severe thunderstorm warning continues. Far northern Ford, northeastern Livingston counties. We jumped on TV with the tornado warning. It's not included Gibson City. It's not included Paxton. Not included Sibley. Paxton and Sibley both have the 4th of July. That storm kind of moving north and east. There's still some rain and thunder in the area. And we'll flip back onto the radar here. Severe thunderstorm watch continues into the 7 o'clock hour for a number of us here. Looks like some scattered storm activity popping up. It looks like around Sibley, they probably just got a downpour. And, for a little bit, you kind of have to dodge things there, but you can see some spotty thunder and lightning. The more impressive cluster here is coming into Atwood and Arthur. See how much more lightning there is there? So it wouldn't surprise me if we continue to see some rain and wind coming into Douglas County soon. I don't think we're going to worry about a tornado with that one, but never say never. We'll watch things and keep updated on things like that. And then this cluster here for 60-mile-per-hour winds kind of moving to the north and east now. So Cabery and off towards Dwight in the path of that one as it lists more now north and east to me. And we'll see there may be an extension of that severe thunderstorm warning into northern Iroquois County as well. Folks checking it on in, where are you watching from? 4th of July, different places, kind of monitoring here. Just kind of seeing that watch, those pink counties there. It's going to include Bloomington, Lincoln, Decatur, Clinton, Monticello, Sullivan, Mattoon, Charleston, Tuscola, Paris, Danville. You got to include Watseka, Gibson City, Pontiac, severe thunderstorm watch for those counties, those cities in those counties, and the county areas around them until 7 o'clock. But really, I think that the back edge here, this kind of is the clearing line. And what we'll see is that's going to move off to the east. And by 7 o'clock, it clears things out there. So that's maybe some more positive news for us there. Seeing that, just checking with the National Weather Service. They're having some flooding up in the Chicago area. Whew. A lot of water with that. So yeah, they issued the tornado warning at 4:13, and by 4:25, the tornado warning is canceled. So it did not last long here. That's why you never say never. That's why we're here. Just making sure things happen and you're covered and things like that. Never say never is the motto of the day here. Here's, in fact, I think I can pull up the tornado risk. There was an afternoon update, but it didn't increase it for us. So we're at the blue at the lowest level of 1. So, never say never. Today's a great example of that. Still have that slight risk of severe weather, wind-driven for our area. But again, just a little area spin. We can still have problems with the wind, too. I mean, that's something where last night, Decatur area, there are some 50 to 60-mile-an-hour winds that came through, caused some power outage. They still got a number of areas out of power down in Macon County from those storms. And then Vermilion County's had a lot of flooding. There's been some torrential downpours. And, this puts down a quick amount of rain in a short period of time with these tropical moisture that's in place here. So kind of seeing this last cluster move on through. Again, I have some optimism. If there's some patience for fireworks, I think that will allow for things to go off without a hitch. Some places will make the call early. Maybe they have too much setup or just not enough time to clear things out. Some of them just do it out of abundance of caution. But I have some optimism that we'll clear these storms out by 6, 7 o'clock here. And that'll allow us to clear things out. So that is what we are looking at there. No updates from the National Weather Service. I'm looking at your guys' chats as well. I'll tell you what they are doing is they are cutting back the heat advisory, which is kind of nice. That's some good news. And we're kind of past the heat wave now, so nicer temperatures ahead for us here. So that's some good news for us. Aaron says her car was struck by lightning. Were you driving it, Aaron? That's a story to tell. I got to report some flooding and damage in Lovington. If you're in the Lovington area, specifically talking to Noel, what kind of damage there was. So curious to hear of any of that. Sometimes you get sporadic tree damage and things of that. Let's just check the velocity to see what's happened. Yeah, there may have been some strong winds that came right through the Lovington area into Douglas County. So Tuscola, going to have some wind coming your direction next. And into Douglas County. Could be some 50 to 55 mile an hour gusts. We don't have a warning. But again, if there's any information about Lovington, that would be good to know here. So checking my Facebook messages too. I'm not seeing anything from Lovington, but if anyone's in Lovington and has some damage reports, that would be great. I can forward off to the National Weather Service. Okay, 4:39 now. Just monitoring things. Now 4:40. And yeah, I'm a little interested in this Douglas County storm. It's going to be coming into the big industrial plant at Ficklin out there over Bourbon, heading into Chesterville and making its way into Tuscola shortly. So there could be some strong winds coming into Douglas County here. And I'm curious if I just had somebody message about, they said, damage and flooding in Lovington. Well, the more specific you are, the better you're going to be able to provide us with information here. I know some folks are watching in Coles County, and they got a big event coming tonight. For the most part, at this point, if no new storms backbuild to the south and west, maybe there's some optimism there for Coles County to keep things dry. Still early to make that call, as there is some activity further to the south and west coming across St. Louis. This to me is kind of, trees down, carport blown on top of vehicle. So. So probably going to see a severe thunderstorm warning pop for southern Champaign and Douglas County here shortly. I would not be surprised to see that, given how things are. Let's switch over to our live cameras because we're a little less formal at this point. And so right now it's looking at Gibson City. I'm going to get us the stadium camera online here, and then I've got to turn it. So give me a second to do that. There it is, looking red, white, and blue. There's the new severe thunderstorm warning. Just came out for Champaign and Douglas counties. And so we'll be getting the notification out across that here. That's going to go until 5:30 for parts of Champaign and Douglas County there. And that's going to be for that storm that's west of Tuscola moving on in. So let me get the stadium camera adjusted now, and then we'll go look at that new warning there. The more intense cluster of storms is now to the south. That's the direction we're looking at. But of course, I'm going to turn it more to the south and west, eventually the west, to see what's coming into town here with our camera network. And it's stormy looking out there. There's some dark clouds. So that's what we're seeing there in the distance. And get that banner on so we can tell what camera it is there. Got some rain and thunder, of course. I know there's the Champaign County Freedom Festival, but I do have some optimism that the fireworks have a good chance to go off tonight if there's enough patience and they can wait there. So that's what we're monitoring. Here's that new warning for Northern Douglas, southern Champaign County. It's a real small sliver of southern Champaign County. Basically, it's Pasodum Broadlands south to US 36. That's going to include Hayes Junction, Hayes Crossing there, Villa Grove, Camargo, Tuscola, Murdoch, Newman. That storm's sitting over Chicken Bristle right now. It is on top of Chicken Bristle. There's a fun town to say. Judy saying there's horizontal rain in Chicken Bristle. I'm not surprised by that. And that's what we're seeing there. We'll go over to velocity and check things out here. Make an assessment on some of that wind. What you're seeing here is downburst winds, and this is some really fast winds moving away from the radar. And it moves fast enough where sometimes on that north edge, you can sometimes see, a little, I'd call it a little eddy almost, where it kind of, whoop, back a little bit. But, if there was something, it's going to be on the north edge there. However, I don't have a lot of, concern for that at this point. We'll watch it. You look at radar, it's mainly the strong straight line winds moving on through. The easiest way to describe that is if you're in a pool and you push water with your hands, you splash it out straight in front of you. What happens then is you push it and, left behind your hand is going to be a little bit of swirling water there. That's kind of what's happening here with that outflow of wind. So it's going to be wind-based problem here. Tornado threat very low with this storm. Of course, we're going to keep an eye on it. Never say never. We learned that today. Updated on our Livingston 40 Iroquois storms. Warning canceled. What happened, I think, is, you can just see it surging out so much that the rain cool there just kind of choked it off. There's not much more instability. The center part of that storm is gone. It's now that north edge that's still lingering there, going to be coming into Kankakee County areas from Ashkin, Chaban's, should say that, and northward. Some other thunderstorms there to the south, and we've got some storms coming into Champaign County again with a few little spotty cells behind that, but severe thunderstorm warning here in the Douglas County area after we had some strong straight line winds come through the Lovington area. And I'll back that out, and you can see how to the south there was a little bit more of an issue. Then here, the straight line winds are pushing out of that storm, and I'll even flow the storm relative velocity on. It's a straight line wind concern here. You can see how there's a little bit of red and green on the north side, but that's not a concern to me at this point. We'll watch. Yeah, there's going to be a little wind shear in that area, but it's mainly the straight line winds that are pushing to the south there and moving off to the east. And so that's why that severe thunderstorm warning is in effect. Just got a message. Susan saying, wind picking up in Tuscola. Roxanne says, we're in the basement by Kempton. Roxanne, you do not need to be in the basement. All clear. No tornado warning for Ford, Iroquois, Livingston counties. All clear there. So you're good. Sometimes you'll see the clouds really swirling around in this type of wind. There's just a lot of turbulence and things like that. So that's what we've got here. There's that next line of storms there on the county line, Champaign, Piatt, McLean County line, coming through 74 between Mansfield and Mahomet, Bellflower south and east coming into Fisher. There's another thin but strong line of storms sneaking on in. And, these are summertime storms, so they are not always a concern. But sometimes you get that velocity's not showing bright reds to indicate strong winds, but yeah, torrential downpours here. If I throw the 1 hour rainfall totals here, when you start seeing greens, that usually indicates an inch of rain has fallen when you hit that level there. And then I'll put the storm total rainfall on. And, here's that. Looks like in Danville, radar's estimating north of Danville, some 2 to 3 inch estimates there. This is radar estimated. There is always a little bit of room for error in that. But last night, Decatur in the 1 to 2 inch range with locally higher pockets. So that is not a surprise for that. 448. Tuscola getting the wind now, coming on through. Nice rain-cool breeze. Strong winds, 50 to 60 mile an hour from Tuscola up towards Pisodum. That'll be crossing 57. And you can see those winds there pushing on out from Ficklin to Tuscola up to Chicken Bristle. You can see haze. That's in the road you take from 45 to Villa Grove there, and then rolling into Tuscola. Now I'm sure the lightning and thunder. I'll turn that on just to peek at it. There'll be some frequent lightning and thunder with that storm as well as it moves on through. Look how little lightning there is up in Livingston, Fort Iroquois County now, and how much different that was earlier. I mean, look at all that lightning as it was rolling across Pontiac, and then just boom. That storm basically blew itself out. It blew its energy out. Some dark clouds still, plenty of lightning and thunder here from basically Bellflower through Mahomet, Seymour, into Champaign County, and then that core there near Tuscola where the strongest winds are, and that's where that severe thunderstorm warning is in place for southern Champaign and northern Douglas counties. But still, you're going to get Champaign, Tolono, Mahomet, Fisher, Rantoul. We'll still have another chance for rain. There's still a few lingering cells after that. Let's walk through future track and show you that here real fast. I'm going to look at this data the same as you. So we're going to make some assumptions on how things look. Overall, I mean, the placement's not terrible. It's 449, and that's actually pretty good. I'm actually pretty impressed with that. Gives us the idea here over the next few hours. Notice by 6, 7, 8 o'clock, it gets most of the rain and storm activity out of here. And that should allow for most of us to get those fireworks on pretty good. Shouldn't be any issues with that. And then I haven't seen Sundays. There's just some pop-up activity, some scattered showers more than likely. That's one run of future track. I want to check out another one here. And so this one also updates every hour. And so you're going to look at it with me. And usually you can kind of tell right out of the gate. Actually, that's doing a really decent job of picking up with what's where. It's a little too intense north, but I think it's going to help us show the timing here. And again, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, things are kind of dying out, which is some good news. Still at 6 and 7, there's still a few spots. But the idea of widespread cancellations doesn't stick out to me at this point, which is some good news for us here as we continue to watch. Let me just check. I've got a tidbit of info. Make sure all the streams are on. That one's working. Those are all working. So we're on. We got 1,000 of you watching, which is kind of neat to see. But there's that statewide radar loop. You can see how storms, you get to the afternoon, storms blossom, and that's not surprising. Southern part of the state might have some issues with fireworks, depending on how fast that line cluster can get out of here. It might be east of I-57 in southern Illinois, might have a few lingering issues, but overall, I feel pretty decent about getting these storms out of here and getting them out in time. So maybe for fireworks tonight, it's not going to be as hot. It still is going to be humid, but if it's not as hot, that's maybe some good news for us there. So that's kind of the latest on that. In fact, they're just dropping more heat advisories, which is nice to see with that. I don't know if we have a heat graphic, and then you may just have to watch me make something real quick here. Okay, there's the severe thunderstorm watch that's in effect. And then we had earlier extreme heat warnings. I'm going to add in some of the heat advisories back. It'll take me a minute. I'm actually editing this as you're watching. So counties that are in orange that are popping up, that is the heat advisory. What I need to do is just adjust that. So see that there, and I'll change that. So there we go. There's the updated graphic for that. then I will. So, heat advisory is done for Champaign, Vermilion, Piatt, Macon County. Still have it to the south there, but we're moving in the right direction. That's what we like to see with things there. So let me turn back on that heat warning. And they kind of changed the lingo up a little bit here. There it is, extreme heat warning. In the pink, that's down in the St. Louis area, heat advisory in orange. And so our current weather alerts dropping things. So there you go. There you watch me make a graphic. So rain, cooled air. Still humid, but watching things drop there pretty quickly here. Looking right now, the time, 4:54. We have a newscast at 6. You got this line of storms coming into Champaign County here. Core of wind is north and east of Tuscola, and we'll just switch back over to velocity, and that's going to tell us more about how the wind looks. And there's still some windy breezes coming through. Villa Grove, Camargo, eventually towards Murdoch and Newman. That probably has some 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts there. The other thing is I don't know if it's going to be able to pull on here. And so give me a second to just play with this. I'm going to increase the sensitivity of the radar data really quick. And I'm going to see if that helps to highlight things. Now, you still see that little spot there, southeast of Fasotum. A little wind shear, winds in the south there are pushing out so much. It kind of creates a little swirl, but I still am not overtly worried about that. I'm going to watch that for Villa Grove. But, there's still some strong winds coming into the Villa Grove area there. So, and when you mark that spot right here, see where my cursor is. I guess you guys can't see the cursor. Let me do this right here. If you just mark that spot, watch when I switch to the reflectivity. There's probably going to be a right on the edge. Actually, it's kind of embedded in the rain there. So that makes me feel a little bit better. But we do have a kind of a boundary in there as well. But again, I'm not worried about it. There's just going to be some strong straight line winds in that area coming on through, some downburst winds. That's by and large the bigger threat in there. As we look towards the Villa Grove area, Camargo getting some of that now. Haven't seen any reports of damage from this. Nobody in the comments is saying Tuscola's in trouble, which is some good news. Villa Grove, Camargo will kind of watch you and then see how things progress as that little cluster moves on through. Some other scattered storms there moving on through. If there's still generally east of I-57 a chance for scattered storms, and we can have some pop-ups still develop, but as you look here, the back edge to me really seems to be right there. And once we clear that through over the next few hours, that should eliminate our rain and storm chances over the next couple hours, which is good news. So if you're at a 4th of July celebration, you're waiting on fireworks, we've got time to clear things out. I have optimism for that. Let me just check the NWS, see if they're saying anything. Nothing major being reported. Still for 60 mile per hour winds. And there's a little shelf cloud. Seeing some messages about nice little shelf cloud sneaking on through with that. Wow, up in Naperville, they've got a 5-inch rain report in an hour. That is extreme. Probably going to be some significant flash flooding up there. And at some point, they'll start to consider flash flood emergencies, I'm sure, up in the Chicago metro. That's this area right here. So zooming on in. I'll take a look at the 3-inch totals here. The rainfall rates are really impressive. I think the 5.5, I don't know if that's an actual measurement, but that's from the National Weather Service. So that must be actual measured rain based on the way they're wording that there. But some torrential rains with some of these storms as it continues to work its way off to the east. Big area view, Pink County Severe Thunderstorm Watch. And you can see here, there's just lots of areas with these pop-up storms and gusty winds threat. There's really, honestly, there may only be a pair of tornado warnings all day, or a handful of them. And the spot that had the one happened to be Livingston and Ford County. And we were sitting here watching and waiting, and I was thinking, I don't think they're going to pull it on that. And then boom, we had a tornado warning for 12 minutes earlier. No tornado warnings at this point. And I don't expect any more, but never say never. And that's why we are here. We are rolling into 5 o'clock. And I am just keeping an eye on things, just in case. This morning I posted a tornado threat graphic. I wasn't worried about them, but sometimes you can get an oopsie from Mother Nature. That's what we had, a little oopsie there, and we cleared it out pretty quickly. And that storm just collapsed. The outflow winds pushed out so fast and so hard, it kind of forced it to spin a little bit in the spot, and we have eliminated that for us here. So there we are, looking at some strong winds now. Anyone watching in Villa Grove? Do we have any Villa Grove folks watching? Did have a request to show the cam in Champaign. I could do that. Probably going to see a shelf cloud coming into town. And probably need to zoom out as well. I just heard some thunder rolling in. Oh, yeah, here's that shelf cloud. So there's that leading edge rolling over town here now. Oh, that's actually pretty neat. Looking up into it, that quick tropical downpour coming on in. Dina is in Villa Grove. Anyone got any reports from there? That shelf clouds roll on in. I really want to do this. Anyone gonna be mad if I go run out the back door real quick? Can I do that? Am I allowed to do that? So there we are, looking to the north and then just panning around here. You get that shelf cloud coming on through. A lot of times these summer storms, those shelf clouds can look pretty impressive as they roll on by. We're looking more to the south there now. Some of those tropical downpours working their way on through. Dina said, really windy and rainy. Not surprised. I think you'd know if there was some damage. But it looks like Champaign camera, the only one being impacted right now from anything of substance. Champaign County, kind of the bullseye here with some of the storm activity. But on a normal day, if we didn't have the tornado warning, I don't know if it would be worth our time even streaming with it. We got the tornado warning, and then we pop on and talk about things. So that's what we are checking out here. So yeah, again, a lot of messages about the shelf cloud coming in. I'll have to spend some time rolling through and checking that there. And as that rolls on over, it's going to be nice. You get that nice rain cool breeze. I can hear the rain falling here at the TV station now. Our studio camera actually on the tower went down. It might just be a computer reset. I'll have to go check after storms are over. You can see that rain coming on in, and it won't last long here in Champaign. Looks like some of the vendors are down there for the Freedom Festival. They're leaving. They're like, oh, we're done. But it will not last long. We'll get this line through in the next 10 minutes, and then we're just left with some spotty activity in place here. What are they doing down there? Looks like they're just covering things up. A little portable stage. And then tonight, the fireworks happen. It should be all fun once we can clear these storms out here. So some tropical rain coming into the Champaign area now. Let's go back to radar and just check things real quick. Again, still have that severe thunderstorm warning for northern Douglas, southern Champaign County, Villa Grove to Broadlands, and between Broadlands and Newman there. And I have not heard of damage in Villa Grove. A lot of folks saying it's rainy and windy. The wind signature doesn't look as impressive to me either as it did earlier. You know, watch when I back this up. There are some brighter pinks coming through in the Tuscola area. And so perhaps by the time this gets into Edgar, southern Vermilion County, Allerton, Sidell, Archie, Hume, in that direction, perhaps it's just a normal storm per se. Now, of course, when we talk about severe storms, we're talking 58 mile per hour winds or greater, 1 inch hail or larger, or a tornado. That qualifies as a severe thunderstorm. If you've got outdoor plans and you've got a tent set up and all that stuff, 40 mile an hour winds is enough to make it not fun. And so just because, you know, we're not talking a lot about Fisher or Champaign, things of that, there's still some rain and wind moving on through, and lightning is going to be probably pretty prevalent as well here when I pop that button on. Coming through Champaign now. There's enough of it there, some thunderstorms. So, you know, you still got to go inside. A normal thunderstorm will impact your day, right? A severe thunderstorm will impact your day more, and that's what we care more about. But on a day like today, there's a lot of outdoor events. People are thinking, all right, clear it out. It's 5 o'clock now. I think in 2 hours, most of this is out of here. There may be a few pop-ups, so I have lots of optimism for our events, for our fireworks here heading into tonight. And I know places like Sibley and Paxton, Champaign. I mean, there's a number of places that have fireworks on the 4th of July. There's another place that have them a different day too. But again, I think tonight there's optimism. So maybe there's an organizer listening, thinking, what are we going to do about fireworks tonight? It's downpouring like crazy. This looks a lot better by 7 p.m. So we get this out of here and clear things on out. But boy, there's some tropical downpours with these storms as well here. So, I mean, Champaign, look, west side over by Staley Road, it's already done. You know, State Farm Center there, halfway done already with this rain coming on through. It's the storm. It's not even the width of Champaign-Urbana, but it just rains a ton in a short period of time, but it keeps moving, so it doesn't rain, if that makes sense, like they have up in Chicago. Let's do a 3-hour radar loop up here. Some of the same areas have been seeing heavy rain for a couple hours, and that's why those flash flood warnings are in effect. And can you see the swirl there as well? Does everyone see that? That's a remnant area of low pressure from storms last night that fired off storms today. When you get those swirls, it often enhances rising motion, and that's why the Chicago area is having a really, really tough time. Widespread flash flooding, vehicles getting stuck. Just a rough day for them up there with those storms moving on through. We at least have had storms continuing to move, which has been good. But, you know, you get a quick tropical downpour, it carries on through, and they're moving at a pretty good clip, too. I think they're moving faster now than they were earlier. So that helps to get things out of here at a more manageable time. And I don't even think this severe threat lasts east of the severe thunderstorm watch. So North Indiana, it's more of a rain, flooding, thunder event than it is a severe weather event for them. So that is what we're doing. Stacy says she has video in Villa Grove, says it's too long to share. If you try sending it in my Facebook inbox, maybe that would be a little bit better. She says it was rotating. There may have been some, but a lot of times in days like today, if that rain-cooled air is pushed underneath that rotation, one of two things has happened. One, it cuts off the ability for the storm to connect with the surface, aka produce tornadoes. And number two, you have a lot of wind moving. And again, my reference earlier is if you're in a pool, when you take your hands and you just go left to right, like you're slicing across the top of the water, there's a lot of turbulence left behind you and you get things to swirl a little bit. And so that's kind of what we got going on there. So kind of how things are. Madison is walking in now. Matt, you're off. You're not on air. We're on full screen now, but he's one of our production folks.
Got battery.
That was a fun little blip there for a few.
I was literally getting caffeine, and then I just hear across the building, I need production.
Yeah. Yep. Had that little tornado warning. 12 minutes is all it lasted, enough to put us in a little, all right, get on air and get on digital. You know, we were 12 minutes away from just letting the normal app push alerts and things like that cover. But such is life, as they say never, right?
Oh, yeah.
We never say there's no chance of tornadoes. We just say the chance of a tornado is really, 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 really low. And it just so happens today it was really, really, really low, but not zero. So that's why our scale, if there's any marginal risk, any risk of severe weather at all, it's always a 1 out of 10 baseline. Then as the Storm Prediction Center increases their probabilities, our numbers go up hand in hand with that. So that's what we got. Kate asking, is rain done indicator? There's actually still a little bit of activity coming in, but the farther west we go, the more sporadic it looks, which is good news here. It's not quite as big, ugly clusters as it was earlier. And so, you know, you can still have a few quick pop showers rolling on through. But, you know, at this point, I think we're over the hump, on our way down, getting rain out of here. And really, if you look at it, so the tornado warning earlier was in Livingston and Ford counties, north of Piper City, north of Fairbury. You kind of can see how there's been some storms moving in different directions up there. It was an oopsie to produce that earlier tornado warning that they had for 12 minutes. We got on air, we could, and rolled things on through. I had a question about the NASCAR race in Joliet. There's still some rain up there. I think NASCAR's pretty picky. Racing doesn't like wet pavement, so that might be a problem up there, but I've not heard what the status of that activity is up there. And tomorrow as well, you know, tomorrow is more like when you see stuff like this, a few cells here and there, very narrow, small. That may be what we see tomorrow with some pop-up activity as opposed to these bigger clusters that have some wind potential. So, you know, I think our coverage tomorrow is a lot less than it was today, which is maybe some good news. But, you know, the severe threat tomorrow is not, you know, I don't expect severe weather tomorrow. We thought today had the chance for that there. Looking further to the south, storms are getting close into Coles County now. We'll see some of these isolated pop-ups heading in the next couple of hours. If you get a quick downpour, it won't last long. I know there's some races down there. And, yeah, just keep an eye on that. Kind of luck of the draw when it slides through you, right? Rolling some dice and seeing if one of those sells. But still, there's enough things that can happen to drop that there. All right, Noah says the NASCAR race is rain delayed. Leanne, the Cubs game in Chicago, I bet that's rain delayed. I can't imagine they still have it. Well, I guess Wrigleyville's up there on the west side. Maybe they've been able to get that. Anyone got a Cubs update? I've not looked. I try and look. Oh, it's today at 7 o'clock. Yeah, I think they'll be fine up there. They'll get that going. I forgot it was at 7. For some reason, I thought it was earlier today. So as we're looking here, again, I'll be curious to hear from anyone that's up near Sonneman, Colum, north of Forest, north of Chatsworth. I'll show you that that little area of spin that appeared. So here we are at 405. Caught my attention. I was like, okay, there's still a little thing there. And there at 416. I mean, it was very minor, but we're talking basically 2 miles south of Sonneman, just south of Cullum, a little bit there. And velocity oftentimes doesn't have to look that impressive on days like today, because what stands out more when I put on reflectivity, you'll see how the surge of the storms, see where that little inflection point is right here coming out of Pontiac? That is what helped a little, I guess, a finger, if you see. You kind of see that little finger shape there? And so you get these little spots. And that's what was happening where, there it was obvious again. And as I move where to the east, you could still see it there, but maybe not as much in this one. At this point, it looks like it started to lift a little more north. And then the rain cool air kicked out under it. And that's why that tornado warning only lasted for 12 minutes there. Yeah, the rain already stopped at the TV station. So it was a quick downpour. We're clear. We'll go back to the camera. We were looking at all the folks at the 4th of July thing there. All done. That little round came on through. We'll give the camera a little whirl and a spin here. Still looks stormy, still looks cloudy. But, if we keep getting these storms to move to the east, things will be a lot better there. We're making a full 360. Okay, well, Severe Thunderstorm Warning should be coming to an end shortly down in Douglas. Actually, it is. It's all done. So we are clear for that Severe Thunderstorm Warning. You can kind of see how that storm is just kind of weakened. A lot of times what happens is, a lot of instability. What goes up must come down. So you get a big blob of rain above, and it just drops to the ground, and rain cool air pushes out, and you get some strong winds there. That may be the case, but quickly watching this pushing on through. Carolyn's saying 4.5 inches in Royal. That was from the earlier round. It's pretty incredible how much rain can fall in a short period of time on a day like today. I mean, the air mass is this soupy, humid. I mean, there's a lot of water in the atmosphere, and these storms can wring that water out. So that was earlier when Royal got that. And there's probably another quick half inch to an inch coming in up there with this downpour working its way on through. Danville area, more rain coming. Yes, these storms will be moving on in the next 30 minutes, and we'll bring some torrential downpours. But at least things are moving. That earlier cluster that had the severe thunderstorm warning in Vermilion County, it kind of stopped it. And, it just kind of stalled out for a little bit. But these storms are moving, so it'll rain pretty heavy for a short period of time before it lets up. So that's what we'll see with that. Yeah, I think most of us are fine. These are summer storms. The concern is low. Mother Nature just liked to test me, and I thought today, I'm like, not a day where we have to spend a lot of time covering things. We're just watching and making sure. And of course, Mother Nature said, have a tornado warning for 12 minutes in Livingston and Ford counties. And then we jumped on digital. And once you're on digital, you don't just kind of drop off necessarily. But we are going to wrap this up here in the next few minutes. And so still expecting scattered storms to move on through. as this main line that's along I-57 gets to the east, there's still some spotty activity, but we are over the hump and seeing rain and storm activity decline. This storm activity south of St. Louis is a southern Illinois problem. I think that's good for Effingham. I-70, wasn't sure that northern edge, how things would play out, but so that's good there. And I think fireworks, for most of us, are going to be just fine tonight. Yeah, you get a little rain. Maybe this sets us up to have a nice evening where it's not hot, not stifling with the heat and humidity. It's still humid, but maybe a little cooler, which is some good news. So again, I have optimism for fireworks here in the area. All right, folks, that is all we got for you. I'm going to have the newscast coming up at 6. I'm going to get a few things taken care of with that, and we will check in with you guys at 6 o'clock on TV. And I don't expect to have to pop on our digital platforms tonight, but still some scattered storms through the next bit here, and but that's just kind of how things roll. So, all right, take care. Have a great rest of your afternoon. Happy 4th of July. Enjoy the festivities when we get this rain out. And if you got any pictures from your 4th of July celebrations, I've got a post on my Facebook page, a little bright spot. We'd love to hear from you on that. Okay, take care. See y'all later.